Hey, hello, welcome to the Football 360 Show. JP Rock here with Matt Bierman. It is the Football 360 Show, the fastest hour of football talk on the planet, where we talk about all things football, college, pro, high school, as well as recruiting, training, your journey that you're going to be on for the entire dealio. And
There's
Matt,
no getting around
there
it.
you go.
Around
He
it.
is Matt Bierman. I am JP Rock without a screen. And so you're just gonna have to walk me through it, Matt. Is what's
We're
going on.
all, well.
There we go.
Yep, your info's up
here
there.
I am. So, anyways, good day outside. If you like, I mean, it's crazy. This crazy weather that we have, to where it's like 86 degrees outside
and windy.
Well, here's the thing: it's the 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts that keep it sort of cool.
Yeah, I'll be out throwing in those because we like when it gets nice out like this.
Mm-hmm.
Behind the building, we have like a 25-yard by 55, 50, 60-yard field, and we're able to throw outside. And but it's a wind tunnel because it's we're down in the river valley. There's wind coming through there, so it's always really cool to get good practice throwing into the wind or against the wind. So or with the tailwind,
right,
going 900 miles per hour behind your ball. But the art of throwing in wind is part of the game.
Absolutely. I was going to say that's great experience.
Yes.
You know what I
do
mean?
It all the time.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, I got a little one who's playing softball this year and got to get out there. You got to know how to throw. You got to know how to make adjustments for the wind and all the good stuff. How the ball.
You could do the whole show on softball. That whole world is.
Look, here's the thing.
Unique.
It is unique. You could do that. I mean, I've been that whole gamut. I've coached the girls softball. I've done the girls basketball. All that cool stuff. It's really unique. I mean, just youth sports in general is just a whole unique world. Got another one playing baseball, just starting baseball. So that's going to be interesting because he's 5 years old, and I don't know if he's gonna.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I love to put my helmet on and look cool, but it's like, hey, look, a bug.
I remember those days with my son when and his buddies playing, and there's kids, which is interesting to see some of those kids that like early days, like baseball kind of wasn't for them, and now they've stuck with it, and baseball's their thing, right? Like, and they love baseball, and they're going down that path, and they get to 8th and 9th grade, you kind of start seeing what path you're on athletically, and I find it's kind of cool because I think that's the beauty of all the different sports. There's kind of something for everybody, right? And I think the kids that get into the individual sports versus the team-based sports, there's a whole different dynamic there.
Most definitely. But I'll tell you what's fascinating is just the cost of baseball. I mean, it's wild how it can.
We should bring a spreadsheet in here someday and like do the cost of your return on investment for football,
right? For
swimming, soccer, baseball, volleyball. I mean, the cost for volleyball is through the roof as well. I mean, it's not $5-6 grand, I think. For some of these better teams.
And then once you get into travel teams and stuff like that,
so. I had a buddy about a year ago was telling me his son, I think he's probably like 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about he made a team that was like the highest level team of his age group or whatever. And the budget, what do you think the travel budget they told the parents to allot for that, that year?
10 grand.
21,000.
So
then you say, okay. And then I said to him, hey, look, this guy's a former football player. I said, football.
Yes.
Football. And I said, what is the return on investment with all due respect to soccer? It is minimal.
Right.
And that'll be a good segue into like, it's becoming painfully obvious that at these schools, I mean, like, Mizzou doesn't have men's soccer to begin with.
Right.
But a lot of these schools, let's be truthful, the ancillary sports, non-revenue sports right now are in a building that's burning. The fire has just not gotten to them yet.
Correct.
Right? And there's
borrowed time.
And I don't think there's no fire suppression system or firemen on the way to put it out because, let's just use the University of Missouri as a great example. They lost money last year, right? They're borrowing money to build the stadium. $250 million. They got some gifts, but they also are borrowing money to do that. Money's not super cheap right now to borrow. So they're making a big bet on the future, but they're raising ticket prices accordingly to try and make money. But at some point, when is the charity of what they're doing going to be basically collide with reality, right?
Correct.
Reality being, hey, we have to, in order to keep this ship going, football has to be paid and paid well and run as best as it can, best coaches, best players, best everything.
Because football makes money.
Because it makes money, right? And so, so to go back to that guy who spent all that money on the soccer, which I don't doubt him or blame him, because his kid loves it and having fun. And I think the next year he said if he made the next team, then it was all paid for by the city, St. Louis City team. But but looking out into the future, and that when we were having that conversation, it was kind of coming, but now it's really coming. And the other thing he did say, which I thought was really interesting, is 30-40% scholarships is what they're getting in soccer. And then he's like, but the 50 to 60%, depending on the conference, are all kids from overseas. They're not American kids.
Right.
So, and that happens in golf and tennis as well. So as well, and I don't know about swimming, but golf and tennis, I know for a fact it happens. There are a lot of overseas players, but as you look at how this whole thing goes, JP, we don't want to sound like jerks, but if you were playing another sport and your aspiration is the good old college scholarship, it just might not be there. You have to read the tea leaves. There are the 20% of money that they have to share now with the athletes that they never had to share in the past is the exact amount of money that they were spending on funding the non-revenue sports. Right. And, that it's a hard pill to swallow when you're, University of Missouri, let's just say softball or swimming or track and field, and you're traveling a team of 20 to 30 people, right? Depending on whatever the sport is, and support staff, trainers, all that stuff, equipment. And you have to fly from St. Louis. You're not driving to Georgia, you're not driving to Florida. You're flying, there's costs incurring on that. I mean, where does that money come from?
They don't want to pile everybody into a 15-passenger van.
I mean, like Drury College or Drury University, coming through town.
Well, what it's really going to do is people are going to have to pick, right? And I know people don't like making decisions, but you're going to have to decide whether you want to have your education paid for and play a sport you love, or you just want to play a sport for the love of it, and you're going to put that on your parents to fund your education while you play a sport that you love. And we talked about it before, but it's really getting to the point where you have to make a decision, and you have to make a decision quicker than you used to be able to. You could be the guy who played all 4 sports in high school and you still go play football. But even with the combine and stuff, there were some guys who are 6'4", 300-pound linemen, right? Who were like, I can't make it. I have baseball practice. They signed up, but their coach had them do baseball practice, a scrimmage, baseball. You're going to play college football. You need to make that decision.
I get it if it's a game, an actual game.
Correct.
That your team, that's different. That is totally
wrestling
different.
Match,
right?
State,
a lacrosse game. That is completely different. But you have to have priorities. And yes, if that coach, let's just talk through this. If that coach really wants you on that team, and you're a good player, one of the better athletes in your school, because there's not a ton of them.
Right.
You do have some leverage and bargaining power to say, hey, coach, I want to play baseball. I love baseball. I don't want to give this up. But in reality, I am going to play college football. So there are 5 events that I need to do this year. And here's what they are. And then, you start saying that. And, I'll call it like last year, we had a top flight kid playing 7-on-7 with us. And, he was a quarterback, and they were playing basketball, and they came to Kansas City to come to a tournament. They played a game the night before, so or that day, Saturday. But he came and watched the games, and they said, "Hey, we'll be back Sunday."
Yeah.
Well, the coach found out that the kid was doing, him and another kid on the team were doing 7-on-7, called it an emergency practice back in their hometown, so they couldn't be there to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just about control.
That 100%.
Okay, that's not looking out for what's best for the kid, because you're absolutely right. If it's a practice, if it's a scrimmage, if you're just getting started,
one weekend, it's been rained out the whole week.
And here's the thing: Lindenwood Mega Camp's coming up on June the
6th and 7th.
Okay. So there's already been a couple of kids who their teams have team camps because, as we've discussed before, the college camps have been kind of pushed back, right? Just because of scheduling and stuff like that. And so there's a couple of kids who they have team camps at other colleges. And some of the kids have told me, yeah, my coach has given me a pass so I can come to the mega camp. Why? Because it's about their future. That's a good coach. Those are good coaches. They realize it.
But there's going to be others that are going to say
that
no.
was some other part there who say, no, you got to be with the team. And so, I mean, and these are kids who are going into their senior year who don't have offers.
And they're going to be at a team camp, which they're one weekend of the off season?
It's a weekend, right? Weekend of the off season in June. You know what I mean? As opposed to being able to go and have over 60 universities and colleges take a look at them and evaluate them and possibly give them an offer.
Right.
Which is really a no-brainer.
It's unfortunate that kids get put in that situation.
It is.
Whereas if I'm a coach in the metro area, let's just say even the state of Missouri or Southern Illinois, I'm pretty much, once I see that Lindenwood was June 6 and 7, we're moving our calendar up so that the kids are done Thursday rather than Friday, Saturday, or go through Friday and then tell them to go Saturday.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. I think that would be a great option. But again, it's the same thing. The NCAA really screwed it up because, like, if they would have allowed Lindenwood to go May 31st, June 1st, right, Saturday, Sunday, but because of how their calendar system works, it doesn't allow for it. And then it squeezes the entire calendar month of June, right? Because a dead period starts on, I think it's whenever, like June 20-something, 3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
So that starts, and then they can't do anything. That's when, like, the Peyton Manning and the Manning Passing Academy, a bunch of stuff happens right around then because it's a dead deal, right? There's nothing going on, and so it is a weird thing. Then the other thing that's going on that a lot of kids are going to be put, not kids necessarily, because it's not going to be a big issue for these kids, but official visits. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of official visits right beginning of June, and they can't do it that weekend before because of how the calendar fell.
Yeah.
I mean, at what point do the colleges and university, the head coaches not get together and go, hey, this is what we're doing?
Yeah.
Like, I know you have your calendar, but this is what we're doing. Yeah. Okay. We're going to have the kids in May 31st, June 1st. Yeah. Okay. Memorial Day is done. That we're now into the summer. Let's just do it then. And so the problem is that by them doing it, it's going to have, put coaching staffs in a really tough position, and they're going to have less coaches to go out to different camps because they are now caught in a scenario where they have to have guys on campus. And, the only saving grace is there's more, any on-field coach can go now evaluate at camps. And so they changed the rule last year where analysts and people like that, quality control guys, they're now on-field coaches as well. So that gives you a little bit bigger group, but then truthfully, like who does the grunt work for those weekends when official visits? Those guys.
Correct. Yeah, they're the guys doing it. I mean, it's another power play, and let's be realistic. When has the NCAA ever done anything in favor of the players? To try to help them out. If you have a good coach, he'll be like, yeah, sure, absolutely. Especially if you're heading into your senior year. If you're a freshman or gonna be an 8th grader, gonna be a freshman or sophomore, I can understand if he's like, you got nothing really, no shot, son. You need to be with the team. But if you're heading into your senior season, you might want to reevaluate that relationship because it's in your best interest. This is your last chance, especially if you have no offers.
But if you are a freshman or 8th grader or rising sophomore or junior, don't think you're immune from this. If don't think you're immune from this conversation because it's going to be here before you know it. And now here's the other thing. A lot of kids got themselves in a pickle because they didn't do anything as freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and now they're going to try and do it as seniors, and this is their last shot.
Yep.
So, you up your chances by going more times, to these different events. And like I talked about the things we're looking at, for my son next year or this coming summer. And he's just an 8th grader, right? Yeah. And so, I was talking to a parent the other day about his son, and he's going to be, I think, a junior, and just things that he's looking to do, and kind of his schedule, and it's pretty robust schedule. What you can over camp too. I mean, you got to be real careful
Yep.
because one thing you got to realize is, especially with quarterbacks, and then if they're doing like line play, you got to be careful. There's only so many balls the guy's gonna be able to throw. There's only so many, so much that they can take, and you don't want them to show up and look bad, right? Because I have seen quarterbacks get camp arm, which is common in training camp, but should not be happening at in the middle of the summer, right? Beginning of the summer.
Yep.
But explaining look, it is like the level of intensity and how tough it's gotten for kids to get recruited at the highest levels.
Yeah.
It's beyond, really where it's ever been. And so to think you're just going to get that done your sophomore, junior, senior year, I had to start in middle school.
I got to tell you what, the number of messages and DMs and people reaching out to me, I'm heading into my senior season. I want to play college ball. What should I do? Like, well, you should get a time machine and go back. And that's the unfortunate part. Unless you're just some kind of freak athlete who, can just naturally do everything well, it's really hard to just decide, the summer before your senior season that you're going to be a serious D1 prospect. So it is a journey, and it is, the earlier you start, the better. And we've had this, how many kids have we had this conversation with over the years? 50 years between us doing this.
Yeah.
And so, how many kids have we, and some of them, I'll take for example, Ryan Joseph, who's an offensive lineman at Mizzou now. I remember talking with his dad when he was a freshman. Well, he likes basketball, and I'm like, no, he's a D1 college football prospect. Well, okay, well, we don't,
we're gonna play basketball and track.
Play basketball, right? And I'm like, well, he needs to come into elite. Well, we're gonna wait until his sophomore year. Now, luckily for him, once he got there, he showed up. I still got the picture. He showed up like this skinny, tall, looked like a basketball
I remember when
player.
he came in,
Wearing a basketball jersey, as a matter of fact, his first training session. And, but he had 3 years to get himself right, 2.5 years to get himself right. And he did, because he bought into it. Right.
JP, it happened so fast. And the margin for error is so small, right? And so to get out there on the field and do the things you need to do and be competitive, because so many people get caught in this trap of thinking locally, right? Like, oh, I'm the best guy in my conference. I'm the best guy in my team.
My high school.
I'm sorry, that means nothing. Zero, right? To be a national level recruit, you got to be the best guy in St. Louis, the best guy in the region, the best guy, in the one of the top 50 to 100 in the country.
Right.
And then you start backing out and looking at like what's going on in other places. Newsflash, St. Louis, Missouri has really good athletes. The level of football, the entire state does, but the level of football is not commensurate with many other locations throughout the country. I had a conversation with the guy the other day who's a South Florida parent. Okay. This is really interesting, actually. So son, 5 or 6 offers, sophomore, great looking athlete. So they were looking, they may move to St. Louis, they may move to Cleveland, or most likely move to Texas. And they're moving because he has played receiver in an area where, let's just say he's probably one of the better kids in his area, right? But he's not the top guy, right? He's a guy.
He's come to that realization.
But he's probably being overshadowed a little bit by, there's some bigger names in South Florida, right? He could come to St. Louis and be a top guy.
Right.
So
tell him that.
Yeah. And so, but what part of what they're looking at is, hey, can we move to Texas? Get out of here. He's going to be in a real, but he's going to see the coaching in Florida is subpar.
Correct.
Right. So they're not developing him. Right. So he's showing up and they're just kind of like, hey, who's the best athlete? Let's throw it to that guy. So they're not really teaching team and scheme. Whereas in Texas, they have a real spring ball. They have coaching periods, like where they actually teach. It's a class at school, and then they have structured teams that are bottom up. They have real big numbers of kids, right?
Yeah.
and then they have coaches who are getting paid good salaries. Whereas in South Florida, as he was saying, they don't get paid hardly at all, and it's like everybody just can leave and go to any school you want to go to whenever you want, right?
Yeah.
So it's just random. They're building superpowers with just good athletes and not great coaching, and so a lot of those kids are really good, but they get to college and kind of peter out because they're not really all that well trained.
You gotta be pretty ready made these days.
So yeah, and he's getting, he's a guy who probably doesn't stand out due to some of his attributes. Probably tough for him to be where he's at, and he can go somewhere else and probably compete and shine even more. And then, but he's already proven he can play at that level down there. I mean, he's getting offers as a sophomore. He's 6 foot 180. He's
the reason I say that Texas is a lateral move is because there's huge numbers there as well.
Yes,
and I this might sound like blasphemy to some people, but I think Texas talent is overrated, despite the fact that they do have really good systems down there, coaches, stadiums. I mean, my gosh, unbelievable stuff. I think it can be a little overrated. The top guys are the elite top guys, national guys.
Yes,
but numbers wise, I think that it's just as easy to get lost down there.
Well, yeah, and so I think
because he's going to want to go to one of the top schools, probably.
Well, yeah, he is, and one of the top quarterbacks in the country and all that. Yeah. But and what's interesting, you say that, and I've talked about numerous coaches with this. The challenge with like some of the Texas and maybe even Georgia, like some of the Southern players, sometimes
Georgia talent
is because they are so well schooled and they're so mature because they've been doing this since they've been in kindergarten and they're growing up in systems. You are seeing a lot of ready-made products that maybe have peaked.
Yep.
And whereas a kid you're going to get from St. Louis or South Florida, they've been coached, but they have not been overcoached in most cases.
Yeah.
And they usually fit the athletic profile. Now, the struggle then becomes, if they're being asked to do a lot of things within that system, do they have the wherewithal and how much time do they have to catch up because the game is moving so fast? They don't have time for you to come in and be a project anymore. They have time for you to come in and play, right? And so, taking these guys and sitting them and letting them marinate is a real risk to a college because that kid could misperceive what they're doing with him.
Yeah,
even though he could be the best guy in 2 years, he's going to leave.
I don't think. And that's the thing with the portal. That doesn't happen anymore.
Right?
They don't take guys and it's like, okay, we're going to work with this guy. I mean, we're talking about even just 5-10 years ago. They would take guys, keep them on the team. They saw something in them, right? We're going to work with them. We're going to develop them. We're going to build them. Not anymore. They can get what they want that has the college experience out of the portal, and they'll supplement that with what they perceive as the very best of the best they can. Now, you talked about guys from the area. They're guys, and I know you mentioned it. I think it might have been a conversation we were having at Elite, or you might have even put it on your social media. But there are guys who are top-notch D1 quarterbacks, right? And they have D1 offers. But so these P4 guys, right? Yeah. Who aren't getting those all kind of offers. And why? Because the colleges don't have to, right? They have the quote-unquote elite that they've deemed elite, and they really pigeonhole these guys, right?
And and a lot of times they're elite due to where they come from.
Oh,
right?
100%. Yeah.
So it's the perception of, he's in Northern California, Southern California guy. Good for him. He's great.
There are people
Florida
Pennsylvania guys. They're still living off the Dan Marino and all those guys that came out of there, quarterbacks.
Whereas I was talking to one of our coaches last night, Matt Craffle. He was talking about his
out of Kirkwood
Elite 11 experience years ago, and so he said he went out to California, and Bob Johnson, who's the guy who set it up, he and his two sons were the guys that originators that coached it and ran it. And he said he was just ripping it up, right? So in the year before, he had to split time with a senior. And the guy's like, "How many yards you throw for last year?" He's like, 1,500. I had to split time with a guy, and the guy said, "Oh man," he's like, "You're really ripping it. Where are you from?" And he goes, "Oh, St. Louis, Missouri." He patted him on the back. "Sorry to hear that, man." And walked off.
Yep.
Right.
Brutal.
Now, fast forward 10 years, Blaine Gabbert goes out there. Same group of guys, and he put St. Louis on the map, and they basically were like, "Oh, where are you from?" We want more of that. So then he
Okay.
shows up and he ends up becoming the Elite 11 champion. He beat out EJ Manuel. He beat out Andrew Luck and a whole other host, Dane Christ, whole bunch of other guys, the guys, right? Went out there and competed head to head and beat them all.
Right.
But what I find interesting is, though, there is still that stigma where, you know, and I think, you know, unrightfully so, those kids that are doing well in our area, like Dylan Duff, Carson Boyd, if they lived in California or Florida or Texas or Georgia,
Pennsylvania,
with the same thing they were doing, they show up at those camps, they are getting the accolades because, oh, he's from such and such high school, right? And it's these guys produce. That is such an old way to look at things, to think that, oh yeah, that, like it's a McDonald's. Oh, they just produce guys. They don't produce guys. That's not how it works. I mean, there's a mother and father involved with genetics, right? And so that has anything to do with the school? No. You know, the chances are each school is changed coaches in that time, right? Or assistant coaches, maybe the head coach is the same guy. Show me what they've done that is what actually is a replicable process that allows you to say, yeah, we're going to go back to that school because it produces. No, they're going back there because there's probably a process of how they recruit the better kids in the area to come to that school, or how the parents move to that area because they know they're going to get recruited out of that school. But that does not, to me, short of a guy that's actually really producing guys that have gone on. I mean, here's the thing. And people can get offended by this or not. You know, we've been doing this a long time. And so we would get, for a long time, people would say, oh, well, yeah, you guys just get the best guys. And you're just, you know, that kid would have been good anyway. Here's the difference. I would be willing to put it up against anybody else. We have more guys that have gone on that we've been a part of that have done well when they got to the college level and then even to the NFL level. And there are guys within our region who have had guys go on to college who've had a bunch of names coming, you know, in that period of time that have gone to college you've never heard of. You didn't ever hear of them again.
Right.
No. Right. And they're quote unquote experts, or these guys are like big time guys. And the reality of it is as a coach, like especially in what I do, you're judged by how well. Hey, Brady Cook, I'll take some pleasure in saying most people didn't believe in him. I know you did. I knew what we put the work in since he's been a little boy in second grade. I know that what he would get to the stage, whether it be playing, right, or at the combine or whatever it might be, the core skill sets he's learned, I promise you, we're going to stand up against everybody. I watched, like we talked about, Brett Gabbert's you may have been involved, but did you actually spend the time to work through the process with that person? I mean, someone showing up and training them 5 times, that's a tough one to do, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, and now, hey, say you train that person 5 times and on the 5th time you call the particular school on their behalf and help set that up. That's a different kind of connection, different kind of help, right? So to speak, but not necessarily on the athletic side, because that happens. There's cases where
it's a finished product.
Yeah, right. But that's and that's
somebody
why you're
else,
making the
somebody
phone
else
call.
did that. Somebody else was tuning up that engine and
100%
everything done. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, Brady Cook, you know, I saw him first time I saw him and I knew he had it, right? D1 potential. Was a 7-on-7 at Luther North when he was a freshman with Chaminade, and he wasn't even getting all the reps. But I saw what he was doing and I knew it. And that was before I even knew that you had trained him since he was born. You know what I mean? But I looked at him and boom, immediately. There goes the note. Yep.
There he is. And then he just stayed through the process. And the recruiting game was not kind to him.
No.
At all.
And for no good reason. That's the thing. And this is the
partly because where he's from.
From where he's from. And you know, it's it's really crazy. You can't let recruiting beat you up as a parent or a player, because it is so subjective. There's no rhyme or reason to it, and you hear the phrase, "Oh, it's not an exact science." It's not a science at all. It's by the whim of individual guys who think they know a little something, and quite frankly, a lot of them don't know anything, and a lot of them don't know how to evaluate. A lot of them don't know where certain schools are. I was at a camp, and there were some college coaches standing around, and they're talking about players. Well, this guy. Well, look at this guy. This guy's. Well, where's he from? And so then I'll chime in and say, "Where?" And they're like, "Well, I've never heard of that. Where's that town?" I'm like, "What area do you recruit?" He's like, "Well, I recruit here." And I'm like, "Well, it's about 20 miles north of here."
Right.
You know what I mean? But that's just the reality of it.
But see, guys get caught in those ruts.
Yes.
And they just go back to what they know.
Which is why you have to be so proactive. You have to be proactive with the training, with the going to the elite combine, with the going to the Casey varsity, with the going to the Lindenwood mega camp, where you get the most bang for your buck. Like I said, 60, I think it's 60 plus. Have you looked at the list?
Yeah, it's a ton.
It's an impressive list. Something for everybody. It's one-stop shopping.
Right.
The Lindenwood camp. You know what I mean?
Show up ready.
Yeah. No matter what level you have any potential to play college football on, you're going to get seen. So
right.
Why would you not?
And the preparation needs to be going on right now for that.
Preparation goes on right now. Elite football combine. You run it, right? Your guys run it. The May 3rd, the KC varsity combine here in St. Louis. Guess who runs it? Who's part of it?
Yeah, we're there helping with them.
Partnering with it. And then Lindenwood, guess who's doing that? You guys are there. Same thing with the KC varsity combines in Kansas City. The William Jewell mega camp, smaller real mini version of mega, the Lindenwood camp. But guess who's running that? The KC varsity guys.
Yep.
You see the connection here that you have available to you.
So the other thing is I tell kids all the time, like, you got to understand partly and parents, how the game is played. And there's so many, and you get to the point where, that's why I like doing this show, because you can kind of just explain it, talk about it, get it out in the open. But JP, the number of times like where you're just like, you were just big, okay, I think this person should be able to read between the lines here.
Yeah.
And they make the wrong choice continually. Oh, well, they go over here with this guy and they do this. Listen, the ability to just open your eyes and kind of read the situation, right? Would you not want to be more comfortable with the people testing you and doing, a couple dry runs at these combines heading up before you get to Lindenwood?
Yep.
When the same equipment's going to be there, the same people are going to be there. Why would you not want to do that? Right?
No, it's a perfect setup.
And so the problem is, JP, is that people either are listening to themselves, right? And their instincts. I forgot I was reading something in the Bible about knowing, basically going on your own animal instinct, as if you're an animal, right?
Right.
The problem being is you don't know enough, and we do this. We all are victim to it. We don't, but in this scenario, you and I do have an authority level of knowledge and actual experience.
Correct.
But you have a number of people who are fans of the game, and now it's their kids now suddenly in this 2-year cycle of recruiting, and they're in it late. It really started 2 years prior to that.
Yep.
And now they're an authority, but they are going on their own understanding and their own instinct, and that instinct 9 times out of 10 is absolutely wrong. Right? What you think is like, well, I should do this, right? Like, no, you should not do too many camps. You should do the right number of camps. Listen to people like you and I will tell you, like, hey, this is kind of the right tenor and tone to do, because we've seen it work time and time again, right?
Right number and the right ones.
Yes.
Because there are a ton of them now, and they roll through town, and they're there one night, like a carnival kind of, I love it when the carnival comes to town and goes to the whatever parking lot at a mall there is, and sets up the Ferris wheel and stuff, and that's fun and all that stuff. But then they're gone, and then they give out some awards, and then what is it? Whereas this is a pathway, is what we're talking about being able to do, is to have a set path with set people who prepare you for what you're going to be doing at actual college camps, including Lindenwood. You know, I mean, it's just a great setup, and you know, players don't know, parents don't know. Everybody's just going by what they hear some other parent tell them, or you know, this kid's coach told them this, or I mean, it's so funny. You know, I've talked about, I have 3 nephews who are playing like minor league football, and what's funny is that, you know, one of them is, they're 2 of them are really good. The one just started, and so they're playing football, and they're both good. The older ones are good, and the one's coach of his middle school, his 7th grade team, told him he's good. He wants him to come to this one training outfit for so much money a month, right? And I know, if I'm going to tell you off here, you're going to know who it is. And I just laughed.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
there's a connection, I'm sure.
Yeah. I'm like, exactly. I go, so he has 0 clue who your uncle is.
What positions he play?
Defensive line. I mean, he's a talent. He's defensive line, tight end.
Yeah.
Offensive line, you name it. But I just got such a kick out of that. And nothing against where he wanted to tell him to go, but it's like, this kid doesn't know that this young man, my nephew, it has people in his life who's connected to people who know,
to actually know. And the problem is, there's places and actually people that do stuff out on, you know, fields all over the metro area, all over the country, right? But 9 times out of 10, trace back to what I talked about a minute ago. What is the pedigree? What have the guys done that they've worked with when they get to school? Because, you know, they'll catch a lot of guys when they're right before they get ready to school, and then they're like, oh, I worked with this guy. Yeah, you did work with them. Yeah. You didn't do anything to build them up, but you worked with a finished product. Right. And the problem is with that is pedigree, and I see more and more places that people, they coach multiple positions. You see that, run for the hill. That one, it tells you they're severely understaffed. They don't have the professionals in the building that need to be doing what they're doing. But you know, like our quarterback coaches coach quarterbacks, right? And have done that for collectively 100+ years of the experience that we have in there. I mean, it's that many, you know, guys that have done it. That's so many guys we have coaching it and done it that long. You know, the guy doing defensive back should not be doing lineman or linebacker, right? Like that is that's little kid stuff. Yeah. That is little kid stuff, right? If you're, I understand if you're at a football practice and you're short a coach, and someone needs to just kind of plug in and say, hey, we're standing here and doing this. That's one thing. But to be a quote unquote professional trainer, and you're doing, you know, the jack of many, master of none theory, save your time, save your money, find a place that's reputable, that has coaches. Like we have 30+ coaches, you know, on a Sunday, we probably have 20 coaches in there working. Yeah. Any given Sunday.
And your place is totally unique in the state. There's nothing else like it. And like, you know, Michael Rose-Ivy came over and helped, you know, helped coach the D line at the elite combine, right? And he was talking about it. Man, I wish we had an elite.
Man, it would be great. Because here's the thing I thought was cool. He put a tweet out, or maybe it was Instagram or something. But one of the young kids, Jake Hartle, who is at Parkway West, 8th grader. Yep. And he had a video that went out that went a little viral. Yeah. He did a real nice move, and BJ, our
videographer,
unbelievable videographer, caught it and put it out just as a single clip. And it's like 50-something thousand views. But I read a quote or something where he had tweeted it or put it out there, Michael Rose-Ivy, and he said, best lineman there, doesn't matter, he's in 8th grade. Yeah. And you know what though? I take that as a great compliment, because you know what? That young man has been coming in since like 4th grade. Yeah. Right. He's been working at it tirelessly, and he is a high level kid for his age, and he's doing it against older kids. Oh yeah. And as he grows, he's going to become a real problem for the people he's facing. Yeah. I mean, I was a benefit of him. He was on my junior football team, and he literally, JP, the ball would be snapped on the first play, and he's was in the backfield every damn play. I mean, but he's coach, Rayshawn Golden and Jason Curtis and Justin Schnelt.
Man, they're in there, guys.
They're in there working and got those guys doing it the right way. And so what's cool about it is when someone else sees it and goes, hey,
for those who don't know, Michael Rose Ivy is a trainer in Kansas City. Played at Rockhurst High School, came to one of the first elite football combines.
I think one of the first ones at Rams Park at the time, right?
Yeah. Well, the first one, it was like he was all the way back with like Donovan Newsom and those guys at that. Well, I don't even know what center that was.
St. Louis Sports Center.
Yeah, it was a little. Yeah, and with like baseball's trying to get on the field.
Right. Yeah. Oh gosh.
So he's there. Days. Yeah, he's there in Kansas City. Great trainer, individual trainer. That's all he does. Defensive lineman, right? You know, there were guys from Kansas City who came in there, right, and showed a lot of potential. Their parents would come up to me, be like, "Hey, I wish that we could come to elite. We're in Kansas City. I know the coach Chris Gomez over in Kansas City.
He does an awesome job.
He's the Jamie Pond of Kansas City.
Yep.
If you're an offensive, that's what you're talking about. You want to go to guys like that. Yes.
Right. And so
God bless everybody who wants to train kids. That trust me, the kids need the interaction and they need the training. But if you want to be the best, you've got to seek out what.
And let me tell you, in all my years, we've been fortunate. We've had some really good coaches come through our doors. One of the guys just texted me today. Arlo Henderson was our running back coach for many years. He's now the general manager at Mississippi Valley State. Okay, so he's in college football now. He's been coaching down in Florida, professional man, great, awesome guy. But the number of players and then coaches that we've had in our program that then go on and become scouts or become head coaches or become college coaches is indicative of the level of people that we attract to our program. And so, our coaching tree is pretty substantial. I mean, I use Robert Steeples as a great example. So Robert got done as a player. We trained him, did all of his pro day stuff, killed it, went to the NFL, trained him during that period. In the offseason, he would come back and help coach. He was a tremendous human being. He loved coaching the flag football, very humble. He was coaching flag football at elite flag football when he got offered the job. And I watched it happen for DeSmet. And then he took 3 or 4 guys that he was coaching flag football with in our program that did skills training that went to become the beginning stage of his staff. They took it on the chin the first year, much better the second year. I think third year they won state. That guy is someone that is, someone who I call a great friend. He's done a lot of great things in the game. He's gone and coached in the NFL. He's coached at the SEC level. He's now in the Big 12 at Iowa State. I mean, so that level of guy has been in there, but here's the thing. He also coached guys like Tim Muxo, who was in our program back then. He's now coaching for us. He coaches at SLU. Great guy, young guy.
He'll always be
tremendously talented at coaching. And why?
Yes.
He was a kid that every Sunday and Wednesday, his dad had him in there training. So he got Brian Baldwin. He had different people in his ear over the years training and teaching him. Brian Baldwin's at Lindenwood.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. One of the best defensive back coaches in the country. I'd put him against anybody. Tremendous coach, teacher, right? Knows what he's doing. But the funny thing is those are the guys that we've attracted and we continue to attract in because guess what? Quality begets quality. It brings quality and it's an environment. And you know what? The name Elite, when we put it in 99, when no one was really using the name Elite.
Now there's all over.
Now everybody's using the name Elite. The reason we did it is because we wanted it to be, it wasn't Matt Bierman's Elite Football Camp. I mean, my name is nowhere near any of it, right? They had to put my name on my door because I didn't want it on there.
Right.
It's not about me.
No, you're a shy guy.
Not about me. It is about the program. It is about development. It is about getting kids better, right? And the reality of it is, far too many people in the game, it's about them, right? And unfortunately, that's the sad thing is when you start to see the narcissism creep in or the, hey, do you know what I am or who I am? Who cares? Yeah. What are the results? How well do your kids do when they get to college? Are they prepared? And then can you do that consistently over a 20-year run?
Right.
Can you? Can you do it for a 2-year run?
Right.
And so the problem is you've seen it. I've been doing this long enough. People come and go. And the problem is, you know who gets hurt in that? The kids get hurt in that.
Yeah.
And there's no concerted effort. There's no certification process, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
you kind of get what you pay for.
and I'll tell you, the way that that what you do is not just well known and respected here, but like we were saying, over in Kansas City side of the state, the western side of the state, they know about it and want
Yes.
to work with and partner with and be involved with what you do, or the KC Varsity Combine when they were going to come over,
Yeah,
they knew.
The best thing is you get to work with those guys. The same thing with like working with Lindenwood. We got to do this together.
Yeah.
Like there's no,
absolutely.
and there's
you
a
want to talk
lot of
about
good
respect.
coaches.
Yeah, just talking to Wayne Orr, who runs KC Varsity Combine, just the respect and the knowledge of knowing what you're doing, and just a great guy. And it's interesting that the good people seem to
Stick together.
Get together and decide that they want to do it because
100%.
everything he does is to help the kids, right?
Right.
Very similar things, similar mindsets, and so they gravitate towards each other. So
I'm trying to find something here too while we're talking because it's something that you said earlier that really got me going because some of these regional camps end up that hey, come to this one, then you get to go to an All-American camp and come to this. A lot of those end up happening during the summer. Okay, do not do anything in the month of June that is not associated with the college.
Correct.
Do not go to a guy you saw on YouTube doing a camp. Waste of money. Do not go to
were an MVP at this camp. Come to this one.
It has to be college related.
Alabama.
You have to go to college related camps. So once June hits, you need to be at college camps. Okay. The end of June, when it goes into a dead period, yes, there are a few more things that you can go to, but like the Under Armour and the Nike stuff, the Elite 11, all that's done pretty much before then, right? And so, yes, if you're 7th and 8th grade, you can get that stuff done early summer before it's even interrupting any kind of college stuff or bumping into it.
Right. Even that stuff, the Nike, Under Armour, fans, scouting sites, pick one.
Right. And just go do the best you can do.
Yeah. Go do, if they're giving away free stuff, like some of them are giving you get some shoes, you get some gloves.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you anything. Go ahead. You want to go travel and have fun. And it's not going to do anything.
Just realize if they're giving you free gloves and shoes, it's a marketing deal for them.
Correct. And that's what it is. Most of the ones that I'm talking about are cattle calls and marketing events. That's what it is. If you're going to go there, you're like, hey, I was selected. They want me to come to this. That's great. That's nice to get notoriety in that. But if you think that's going to help you on some level, with recruitment, it by and large will not.
Well,
on occasion, but
JP,
I've been to these things. For years,
we've been to all of them. We know. So say for instance, whoever's camp, Under Armour, Rivals, Nike, whatever, whoever,
they're all got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Elite 11.
Yep.
As much as I would love to sit here and tell you that they're there to discover.
No.
Well, because think about the process. They invite. So most of the guys going in 2 weeks down to Nashville for the UA camp have been invited. If you look at the people that have been invited, they all have offers. So again, that's kind of getting you in, but that would also indicate that's a barrier to entry. It would also indicate they're probably not going to be, they're evaluating those guys against each other, but they're not there to find the next great star, right? They're there to kind of validate their thesis of who's who and kind of get their picture and get them together, and then send you on your way. And then also, 5 years from now, when one of those kids makes it to the NFL, they have the picture of them doing their camp, and then it's just kind of this self-fulfilling, pipeline, if you will. So you got to do those camps, like Brett Ottensmeyer, quarterback who we had on the show before. He just went to the Elite 11 out in California. His dad said it was a great experience. They got into it, kind of with the eyes wide open, just go out to kind of see where you're at. I think 60 quarterbacks there. And the reality of it is whether you go there and kill it or not, I think, he probably I would assume if he threw the way he normally throws, which sounds like he did, he's in the top of the heap. But the problem is you're there with guys that have already been
their name guys.
Anointed, right? And so, and again,
they're going to win the award.
And the funny thing is you see there's quarterback sites. There's other sites that rate all these kids, right? There's quarterback specific ones. Then there's the recruiting services or what news services, if you will. And the issue is when you watch them evaluate and you start to like read multiple kids things, there's no real authenticity. It's a lot of the same verbiage. It's just kind of, like it's like almost Chat GPT version of analysis.
You're spot on, because there is that.
Yeah, that's going on.
I can guarantee you that's going on, because that's an option, right? And that's why some of it just seems really wonky or really kind of weird, right? You're looking at it, it's like, well, what does that mean? Well, why are they using that verbiage? Why are they,
So there's a website for quarterbacks, right? And they rank, but you basically pay to have a membership, or you can just put your stuff in, but okay, fine. But I started like looking at it, and I'm like, because obviously for what I do for a living, I train quarterbacks, and you start to watch kids. There's kids that are, I kid you not, that are top rated kids who, if you look at their film, they have such little body of work that it's either going off of recommendation or someone that they know that, hey, this is the next guy.
Oh, totally.
Or they don't know what they're looking at, because you look at the film and you're like, this is like, you can't ascertain anything from the film. And then you look at another quarterback who's making back shoulder throws on the run, and the highlight film was put together, succinctly, so like a college recruiter would look at it and go, oh yeah, this guy can make all the throws.
Yeah.
But then you look at their ranking, and that guy's got an 80 and this guy's a 90, and you're like,
well, is the guy that's got the higher ranking, is he paying for the full service?
Probably.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that goes into it too. You can buy your way into a better
which is really sad.
I know who you're talking about.
Which is really
you can
sad.
do that, but I got to tell you what, most of the places like that who find the kids, how they do it is they find it off of X and Instagram, and they find it from other people who are tweeting out about particular players, and then they glom on them. They'll get an invite to this, or they'll write a blurb about them, and everybody's the best. And like you said, similar verbiage. It's there's only so many ways you can write about it. So if you're going to be writing about hundreds of kids, right, to try to get them to buy whatever you're selling, it's going to be cookie cutter.
But the truth is, if you're going to do that, you have to have a set of systematic ratings so that you actually can ascertain who the best ones are.
Yeah.
And the problem is when you let politics come into it, or you just say, oh, this kid's 6'2" and this guy's 5'10",
or he has so many offers from these schools. You're not, even if you are more talented than those guys, you're not going to jump ahead of them.
And that's where a guy like a Brett goes out to California. He's not a California guy. He, a Miami of Ohio offer, and a Kent State offer ring hollow out there.
Yep.
Whereas in the Midwest, that's great. Those are schools that recruit the area.
Right.
Just as if a kid had a West Coast offer from San Jose State here, that doesn't mean as much as it would, being out there, right?
San Diego State, it
doesn't really matter. So it's just a weird environment, JP. I mean, I think there's
totally weird
for the parents. There's so much misinformation.
They don't know.
That's where we got a log of 75, 76 shows. You can go back. We've talked about a lot of these subjects. We're going to have something at some point that you can push people and educate them a little bit more. I think that should be where it's heading, because there is so much misinformation. Look, something as simple as 2 weeks ago, there was a combine in St. Louis that is a known entity. The fact that anybody would go to out of town that weekend, I'm not saying you shouldn't go out of town to go, but you would jump out of your own backyard where you can be seen, and then kind of put in a group of people that's going to recruit this area, the same coaches that recruit this area, it's a bad instinct. It's a bad move. And again,
you were sold.
That's the problem and just so you know, getting an invite to every different type of camp, especially if you go to if you go to our website, there's no place for you to nominate yourself. There's a place to sign up, and we have a process where we invite people, but it has nothing. They're separate from each other.
Correct.
They are not. There's no system where we're like, hey, nominate your player.
Right.
If you see that, it's a cash grab.
Right.
It's a cash grab. It's a farming operation where they're trying to get the information.
They don't care. Correct.
And so you got to be hip to the game.
Right.
And I think, unfortunately, so many people fall victim. I mean, JP,
Yes.
if I had $1 for every time someone has signed up for our combine, and then we'll get an email and say, hey, can you send us an invite so we can post it?
Yeah.
I mean, I get it for the social media purposes, but the more powerful tweet than the invite, which invite really is a null event. The powerful tweet is working your ass off and getting faster and showing up and showing out and then putting your information out online after you've done it.
Right.
Putting your information out before you show up is nothing.
There's a lot of guys who just want that invite so that they can put it out there and then they won't show up.
Right.
They just want that clout. They want the notoriety.
And again, if that's you, college football is going to eat you up and spit you out.
Correct. So time is flowing on by. And then what's going on? Anything you want to lay out there?
You know what? We just opened up the enrollment for the St. Louis Metro Football Coaches Association. It's a smaller event. It's a 2.5-hour event. So we have a smaller number of guys we can hold in it. That'll be Monday, May 12th. So it'll be a week after thereabouts after the KC Varsity
Combine, which is a 5-hour full deal.
Because it's a longer event.
Including this year padded. The one-on-ones and the O-line, D-line is going to be padded up. So go ahead, check it out, kcvarsitycombine.com. Lots of cool stuff. Reach out and ask me and Matt questions. If you have questions on stuff, where can people reach you?
EliteFootball.net on our website, and Elite Football Academy on Instagram, and Elite Football on X.
JP Rock MO on X, JP Rock Scout U, the letter U on Instagram, flowerscouting.com. It went by fast. It goes by fast. Going to go out and enjoy the nice, warm, breezy weather, right? And if you have a question on the show, go ahead, reach out to us, and you can find all shows on YouTube, X, Football 360.
Football 360 show, and then Apple,
the website.
Apple, Spotify, you name it.
We're everywhere. We're worldwide. So everybody go ahead, stay safe, and we will talk to you next week. See ya.